What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Salute to all of my subs, day ones, and as well as new subs too as well. Straight to the point. Sports and entertainment. Shouts out to the whole entire LDBC, Lions Den, and basketball communities. I'm a little bit under the weather, so don't mind me. But nevertheless, the grind don't stop. Still got to keep it going. Um, Look here, man. Let's go ahead and cut to the chase. No pun intended, okay? Because we are going to be talking about Jamar in just a few. Jamar Chase of the Cincinnati Bengals. Um, but yesterday, man, I was watching First Take, uh, and I was watching Lewis Riddick and Stephen A. Smith. Um, Mad Dog Russo really had no. He couldn't even put his 2 cents in really, and if he did try to put his 2 cents in, it wasn't going to work because there was a debacle, but really a domination by Lewis Riddick, destroying Stephen A. Smith's logic. The problem with Stephen A. Smith, man, when it comes to uh, a team like the Cowboys, is that he's using the same old tired ass talking points as it pertains to just solely Dak, like it's Dak's fault, right? And see, that's what I have a problem with. Everybody, if you're gonna come to me and you're gonna constantly say that, oh, it's time for Dak to leave, or it's time for Dak to go, or Dak is trash as a quarterback, blah 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 blah, and stuff, you're gonna have to come really really strong because I'm gonna lay some points out to you in which we have to go outside of the box when we're talking about Dak Prescott. But nobody wants to do that because y'all are so blinded by, oh yeah, Dak, he performed this way or he performed that way. Okay, but you're not looking at what is going around him, and also you're really not looking at what Dak has done in previous years. Now he always wants to bring up uh, the eight years, two playoff wins, and all that other nonsense, right? But he's not realize. What's up with it, Chad? I see you in here. Um, what he's not realizing that is that when it comes to Dak Prescott, people had to understand when he first came in, he had already played better in a postseason than a guy like Peyton Manning. I want people to understand this, right? Okay, because everybody talks about Peyton Manning and Tom Brady, stuff like that, right? Peyton Manning's QB rating in the playoffs was only an 86 to 87. Brady's Brady's is a 80 was an 89, 89 point something. Okay, and I have Tom Brady at the top. Do you know what Dak Prescott's is? What's up with it, the real? I see you in here. Do you know what Dak Prescott's QBR is? Can you say you know what it is? It's in the 90s. Don't listen to don't know what he's talking about, Mr. Riddick. Man, you out your mind, Stephen. You capping. You out your mind. Go back and go look at the segment. He absolutely destroyed Stephen A. Smith. He pretty much destroyed Stephen A. Smith the whole time. And salute to you. But Louis Riddick, he played the game. Louis Riddick does know what he's talking about. And he brought up this point right here, okay? I'm not just going to just say Louis Riddick, he cooked Stephen A. Smith. But let me tell you why, okay? Let me tell you why. All right? Now, in that, let's just start what recently happened against Green Bay, okay? Dak, he got sacked 4 times, right? That's what you talk about. He got sacked 4 times. If I'm not mistaken, he threw 2 interceptions. Coming into that game, did you know that Dak Prescott, he only threw when his first playoff, he only threw one interception, right? Second playoff, he only threw 1 interception. Third playoffs, I think he only threw 1 interception. Then there was I think after that he threw 2 or 3, and then coming into the Green Bay game, he threw 2. We don't count one of those years because we understand that he had got injured. He got badly injured. But let's focus on the Green Bay. Let's focus on the Green Bay game, right? Everybody wants to talk about, oh yeah, Dak, he played like trash. Da 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 da. Yeah, in the first half. But let's talk about this. In the second half, what Louis Riddick pointed out is the fact that the defense fell apart. And but Dak, his QBR rating, and you could go look this up, and I'm talking about in the playoffs. And even in the regular season, it was still higher than a handful of guys, including Mahomes. Okay? But we're talking about the playoffs, right? He has a higher overall career-wise QBR rating than both Tom Brady and Peyton Manning. And I put those guys up there because a lot of people, for some reason, they always use, of course they use Tom Brady as a measuring stick, but they also use Peyton Manning. But I try to use Peyton Manning because everybody wants to come with this argument that Peyton Manning was so much greater than of a quarterback than Dak Prescott. But I digress. Now, Louis Riddick brought up another point, and he was absolutely destroying Stephen A. Smith's argument about Dak, saying that it's solely him, right? This is what Louis Riddick had to say. This is what he said, right? He said, if Justin Herbert was to come on the market right now, do you think teams would be reaching and grabbing for him? And Stephen A. Smith, he struggled with that. He asked him what has Justin Herbert done, and then he was like, well, he'd been hurt, and then before that he wasn't really producing, right? And then he also said this, right? This is what else he also said, Stephen. Okay, since you hate Dak so much. This is what he also said. He said, Brock Purdy. Did Brock Purdy deserve to get paid? Stephen A. said no. Well, Brock Purdy made the Super Bowl, right? But Lamar Jackson, he was a unanimous MVP, but he did not make the Super Bowl. Right? So let's take it a step further. Okay. And this is a little bit off the subject, but it correlates to what I'm talking about. All right? Stay with me. Now, Warren Sapp and Cam Newton were having a conversation on Cam Newton's podcast, right? He asked if, Tom Brady, well, they talked about Brock Purdy. He talked about his former quarterback, Brad Johnson, if he was a game manager, if he was an elite game manager. Warren Sapp struggled to answer the question. And Cam Newton was right. You're not answering the question. He tried to dance around the question. Then he came to Brock Purdy, and then he came to Tom Brady. And his point is that a game manager, that doesn't mean a bad thing. You know why? Because you can be an elite game manager, which is what Tom Brady is, which is what Dak Prescott is, which is what Brock Purdy is. Right, exactly, Ted. Right, he got paid. And did Jimmy G absolutely deserve his money? Somewhat. Okay, somewhat. But we all know that Jimmy G wasn't as good as a quarterback as Dak Prescott, nor was he as good as a quarterback as Brock Purdy. He wasn't. Okay, he wasn't. And if we're gonna be real, I'll put it to you like this: maybe not so much the numbers, but overall performance-wise, Brock Purdy did outplay Dak Prescott. He outplayed every time they played the 49ers. He's outplayed Dak Prescott. Dak Prescott always struggled against both the Packers and the 49ers. He struggled more now. With the Packers, he just starting to struggle. You got to remember, at the beginning of his career, he was destroying the Packers. I'm sorry, Ted, but we have to be real. But now, as of late, okay, the Packers have kind of figured him out. So let me swing it back around. Let me spin this block again, okay? Y'all are sitting up in here always so focused on Dak, right? When they had, and I'm always going to bring this up. If you, okay, I was watching, it's funny, I was watching the movie, The Replacements. Y'all remember that movie with Keanu Reeves, with Faison Love, with Gene Hackman, The Replacements, the movie, okay? And if you don't know what the movie, The Replacements is, it's a football movie, right? They had all these guys that were, considered washed up and, yeah, you know that movie, Steven. It's an older movie. But they had Faison Love, they had Goldmine from Life, and Thin Line Between Love and Hate. God rest his soul, man. And they had Keanu Reeves and Gene Hackman. Well, basically, it was a movie about guys that used to play the game and stuff like that, but the guys had talent or whatever, but some of them were a little bit rough around the edges. Some of these guys, they might have been like Orlando, what's his name, from Drumline. He was really, really fast, but he couldn't catch worth shit. And then you had you had a guy that was locked up well, he could play football, but you had a cop on the team and you had an ex-con on the team or whatever, and they all had to get along, all this other stuff. But the reason why I'm bringing this up, man, is because they all had some stuff. They all had some stuff that they had to work through. The Cowboys, this is what they have to work through. First off, Jerry's ass needs to sit down. Okay? He's not doing anything but modern day slavery. And on top of that, listen, the reason why I bring that up too is because that conversation, fuck Mike McCarthy, right? Okay? I'm sorry, Ted. I know you probably respect him. He brought y'all championship, but Mike McCarthy, I don't see them winning a championship with Mike McCarthy. What Jerry Jones needs to do is have that conversation. You remember when Gene Hackman and the owner had the conversation in that movie, Ted and Stephen Green. You remember that? That's what what's it called? And he said this point right here. Gene Hackman said, "I have control over my own team." That's what in order for this thing to move forward, because Gene Hackman did the same thing. He had control over his own team, and that's what needs to go on. You're never gonna be, because a quarterback. Now I will say this, even though I don't agree with what Tua says about Brian Flores. I will say this, and when they talk about Brian Flores and the whole Tua situation that happened and all that other stuff, a quarterback and head coach relationship is very important, though. I will say that. Mike McCarthy and Dak Prescott's relationship, to me, is not a good relationship. I think he would have identified better with Dan Quinn, and Dan Quinn was a damn defensive coordinator. They don't have a good relationship. Like if you look at Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid, do you see how their relationship is? Hell, you look at Brock Purdy and you look at Kyle Shanahan. Okay, I salute to you, Cypress, but I mean there are a lot of offensive coordinators that have a head coaching job. There are defensive coordinators that had head coaching jobs. Brian Flores was a defensive coordinator. He had a head coaching job. Dan Quinn was a defensive coordinator. He got a head coaching job. You know what I'm saying? So that I don't like to look at that. You know what I'm saying? Defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. The only thing that you can bring by that logic is the fact that when a defensive coordinator takes over, he has a different mentality. If you play football, Ted, I think you play football. Steven, I think you play football. I don't know, Cypress, I don't know if you play football. I played football 1 year. Defensive coaches and offensive coaches talk completely different. Completely different. On the defensive side of the ball, how Brian Flores was saying, "Oh, you ain't shit." Matter of fact, I'll give you a prime example. Hold on 1 minute, y'all.